So 28 years, my parents are closing a cycle, and then this happens. One of the things that's so devastating, I think, for my parents, I haven't spoken to them about it, but I could see my parents are in their late 70s, but they look so young and so cute and so vibrant and active. My mom and I were talking about that yesterday, that people see her and they think she's in her 50s, like, is that the cellular memory of losing a child, and now 28 years, a Saturn cycle, this is being reactivated. And that's what happens in our energy body, is in these cycles, it reactivates. It doesn't have to be the same exact circumstance. I don't think I'm going to die. There are days that I want to. I don't think that that's going to happen. Maybe I'm ignorant, but it is activating in my parents that cellular emotion, that emotional body from when they lost a child. And why is it that I have an older brother and an older sister and nothing? Because it had to be this time frame, because it's a Saturn thing. Pluto is involved, but it is a 28-year cycle, so I know Saturn is involved. And it happens to be that Saturn is opposing my moon. So Pluto and all the other planets are involved too, to just have a real great party up in Olympus while I'm here in the underworld, But that's when you can see generationally. So I haven't spoken to my parents about it, but I wonder, they've never been hospitalized. No one in my family's ever been hospitalized. My parents are in their 70s. My mother had osteoporosis. Yeah, I've been hospitalized. I think I'm the only one. Other than pregnancy for my sister, my brother had a wrist surgery. So in the hospital for days, I'm the only one. So remember, Chiron is part of the scapegoat. Remember, illness is part of showing, demonstrating in ancestral astrology what needs, fourth chakra, need to be done. Plus, if I'm the scapegoat, that I'm the one that leads the exodus, well, if you're the first one at the battle lines, Mars opposite Moon, you're going to get all the bullets. My sister was the first one because she died. But you start seeing, she had mental problems. My sister was mentally retarded, so it's sort of put to the side, so to speak. I think she's the very big part of the Pisces aspect in our family, the mental illness, even though that's not the way it's been through religious persecution, but I think her way of living out the story was with that mental illness, and she died at 25. So a little shorter, but right around a Saturn cycle. And here, I am an exact Saturn cycle, and this is happening. So with Saturn, you're seeing patterns ancestrally that you might actually be alive, or your parents might be alive to tell you about. They may not be able to tell you about Uranus, but they often can tell you about Saturn. So these things are just very fascinating, right? So in general, ancestral astrology is the family history in the natal chart, independent of the personal history. Your planets are the archetypes, and we're dealing with Saturn today. So we're dealing mainly with authority figures that could be parents or grandparents. Now in my case, I am an authority figure that was this cult leader. So you ask the client, who was the authority figure? It's oftentimes going to be the parents or the grandparents. And you can ask them specifically in that section of the house. So, and mine is in the 7th, and yours is in the 6th. So who was the authority figure in accordance to health and work, or your day-to-day routine? Okay, so we'll look and see now by sign. With me, the person that dictated my friends and most importantly my marriage, which is my 7th house, was the co-leader. So yes, my parents are authorities, but really, the fuck up, the one who fucked me up, that authority that fucked me up, and it goes both ways. I am never going to take away the good from a person that did good for me, even if they did bad to me. The good is the good and the bad is the bad. Those are obviously my judgments. There were some positive things. Not many, in comparison to everything bad, but she did have a positive influence in other things. For instance, this type of work. Now, I can never become her, but the ability or the introduction, I have to, you know, there's a foundation there exactly in the story. And the spirit matter, that I'm all about the spirit matter, her and my dad were the spirit matter. So that is a positive thing, regardless of how the story played out. So we want to remind ourselves that everything isn't always bad, that with the bad and the good, you know. But in that particular area of my life, she was the one sort of in charge. She was the authority figure. Then you add the sign. My case, it's Gemini, and in your case, it's Pisces. So I have a feeling, too, that your grandfather plays a part here, because it's the right side of the chart, the masculine, and he was an astrologer. But yours is a Pisces. So you can work as a spiritual teacher, aka an astrologer, because there was a positive authority figure, your grandfather. So remember, there's many interpretations. Most of the time, people are not coming for good, or we're not here to tell them how great they are. But there is a possibility that someone asks you, what can I do professionally? And Saturn is profession. And lo and behold, I became a marriage and family therapist. Just saying. So even though the cult leader was not a marriage and family counselor, she acted in that role with the couples in the cult. And she also, the unhealthy part, matched people up, arranged marriages. So I have an authority figure, Gemini, in my marriage house. I do and choose that profession coincidentally, because I didn't even know what program I signed up for. I applied, I didn't even know what I was signing up for. I had no clue. First day of class, marriage and family counseling. What's this? So I've always said I've been sort of just taken, you know, like Aladdin, but that's the way you're going to break it down. Usually it's going to cause a problem, and especially if it's aspected hard with another planet, so we'll go through that. The sign that Saturn is in, we'll talk about the themes specifically in the history of the family. The house where Saturn is in is the circumstances that the person is going to develop that storyline. So you're going to develop your Saturnian storyline in your health, in your work, right? And I'm going to develop it in my marriage and with friends. And I can't even tell you how exact this is. I am freaked out how I married the same exact person twice. When one of my clients / friends taught the destiny cards at my house several years ago, each person, based on their birthday, has a card, like a 9 of hearts or whatever. My 2 husbands had the exact same card. when I saw that, and TJ and I were great at that time, I was like, no fucking way. These are not the same people. Like, Isaac's an asshole. Like, this is not. And I will always love TJ, and he will always be the love of my life. But the way he's behaved, I mean, I don't know who behaved worse. So, it is like to a T, to a T. It's really crazy. So, you have to pay attention to the 6th house. Now, I mean, in your case, in my case, the 7th. What's your name on Instagram?
Which one?
Arcturian.
Arcturian.
Alchemist. In alchemy, the Nigredo is Saturn. The Nigredo is when we are basically burnt to a crisp, where all of the lead has to be sort of burnt off so that the gold can appear. So that 6th house, your health, your work, animals, your day-to-day routine, food, why you pick these books on health, not an accident, why I picked marriage and family counseling, not an accident, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but we're being guided ancestrally. Mm-hmm. That is a way to know that you're on the right track. And ideally with Saturn in the chart, individually, and of course ancestrally, if you are able to live out the Nigredo and grow from it, that's sort of like a karmic, because Saturn's karma, a karmic